The American West in the early 1900s was an unforgiving, harsh environment that ran almost entirely on raw, unyielding animal and human muscle. Kenneth DeWitt learned this fast. After his mother died when he was 11, he was thrust straight into the brutal world of frontier freight hauling, solid to his skin at night. In this era, if you couldn't lift heavy weight and endure the pain, you didn't eat. Then, when Kenneth was 14, a dropped .30-30 rifle discharged directly into his left hand. Frontier medicine was blunt. A doctor amputated the shattered hand right on his aunt's kitchen table. Right after the surgery, an older local man told Kenneth that this permanent disability would actually be a blessing. It sounds absurd. How could a one-handed orphan possibly survive in an economy based strictly on manual labor? Kenneth's immediate response was to ignore the handicap entirely. At 16, a boss told him a one-handed kid couldn't drive a primary draft team, so Kenneth took a job running a horse-drawn cultivator instead. Terrified of being fired, he spent his days relentlessly plowing a 15-acre potato patch, constantly watching the passing trains to see if the superintendent was checking up on him. This chart matched the standard adult monthly wage for that camp, $26. But when Kenneth went to collect his first paycheck, he was handed $40. As you can see by the highlighted gap, he was outproducing grown, able-bodied men by nearly 50%. He figured out that raw, continuous effort could mathematically erase his physical deficit. He scaled that work ethic up to massive infrastructure projects, securing contracts to carve out beds for the Southern Pacific Railroad. The environment was punishing. He laid track in temperatures hitting 126 degrees. Working through heat so intense, his draft mules were dropping dead in the dirt. But while he was scraping earth and blasting rock, he was also locking in a rigid personal code. He once promised a man $200 for a massive workhorse. The animal died its very first night in camp, but Kenneth sent the money anyway, simply because he had given his word. Later, when a carpenter foreman tried to cheat an inexperienced worker out of a $10 poker pot, Kenneth fired the foreman on the spot. In a transient, lawless economy, missing a hand meant he had to command respect differently. His absolute integrity became the collateral he used to lead men. During these years, he was also pursuing a young woman named Elizabeth. He was stubborn. When she was angry and refused to go on a date with him, he stood next to her buggy and blocked her horse until her 50-pound block of groceries ice melted into a puddle, forcing her to agree. Their partnership absorbed massive financial shocks. The 1920 cotton market crash left them deeply in debt and living in a dirt floor shack where rainwater poured right through the roof. But they kept planting and building, eventually securing a comfortable prosperity, which Kenneth displayed with premium vehicles, like this pristine 1958 Edsel station wagon. His grit built the bank account, but Elizabeth provided the stability that gave his survival instincts a permanent home. At age 65, Kenneth walked away from his lucrative road contracts. He didn't retire from exhaustion. He quit to become Elizabeth's full-time caregiver after she underwent a severe cancer operation. When a series of strokes later left her helpless, the man who built highways took over the house. He spent his final years doing the laundry, vacuuming the floors, and cooking the meals. The unyielding endurance he used to break solid desert rock was finally channeled entirely into protecting his wife. 70 years earlier, a patriarch told a bleeding 14-year-old boy that losing his hand would be a blessing. That injury stripped away any physical margin for error. It forced Kenneth to construct a life out of massive output and unassailable honesty. The rail lines and highways he cut across the West are still there. But the true weight of Kenneth DeWitt's life is the blueprint of character he left behind.